Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on our Master Gooroo Live class. My name is Sue Lee, and I'm the Head of Growth at Gooroo. It is my absolute pleasure and honor to introduce to you Carolyn Disbrow. She is a Gooroo supporter, advisor, and previous user, so we're so excited to have her join us today.
I'm really glad to be here. Thank you so much, Sue, for having me.
Of course, we're so excited to have you. Just to give you guys all a little bit of a background on Carolyn, she is the Senior Director of Brand Marketing for CNN Worldwide. And Carolyn, would you like to give us a little bit of a brief overview on just sort of your time there and what you currently do?
Yeah, so I've been at CNN for actually the majority of my career. I had a short time at MTV right when I graduated from college, where I worked on some political programming. And then I came to CNN and have worked in the communications and marketing department. And specifically, I work in brand marketing now, which can mean a lot of different things. So let me give you an example of a project that I did, which might be helpful.
Okay.
We recently moved into the Hudson Yards building about a year ago. And I worked on the interior graphics. I actually worked on the project for 5 years prior to this. I worked on details around seating and the types of desks we would use, and helping with configurations and lighting and the carpeting and sort of all of the millions of decisions that it takes to put together the interiors of buildings when a company makes a real estate change like that. We were moving from Time Warner Center to Hudson Yards. And then all of the interior branding graphics that we had to put into the space before our employees moved in, which took about 1.5 years of planning. It was really, it was quite a project, and I had never done something like that before. So there was a kind of a steep learning curve, which was really exciting. So, but really, it's kind of, you know, how I guess the best example is really to think about how people interact with the brand, including employees, guests, and you know, everyday people interact with your company and your brand. And so that's really kind of an example of what I did and what I do.
Great. And what is your experience like working there now, especially with the current climate of just everything going on right now?
Yes, well, it's changed quite a bit, I think, for everyone, right? So now it's a matter of, you know, what are we going to be doing in the future, and what does this mean? You know, how are we going to be experiencing events, and how are we going to be doing things for our employees in the near term, and how are we going to be planning for next year around an event where there are so many question marks. And you know, I think one of the challenges that I think everyone is having, whether you're a student or someone who is working at a company, is it's a constantly changing situation. And so you have to plan a little bit for every scenario, which takes a lot of creativity and a lot of flexibility.
What do you believe is in the future for journalism? Where is it headed? And do you think it's a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it neutral?
Right. I think, you know, this is a really interesting question, because I graduated from journalism school in 2006. When I was leaving school at the time, the sort of digital revolution was really having an effect on the industry. It was changing the print industry significantly. And it was impacting their bottom lines, and it was changing their newsrooms. And it has certainly affected every facet of journalism, and it's having a really positive effect. But it's also having to make us as consumers of journalism, and I think we're all consumers of journalism, really thoughtful about the types of news and information that we consume and where we get it from. Because in some ways, and in many ways, it's made, it's opened up, the digital revolution, I think, has opened up a, a career and an industry to everyone. I mean, before, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you couldn't be a journalist really unless you were affiliated with a news organization, the Associated Press, the New York Times, a big, a wire service or a paper or a broadcast service. Now, people can be citizen journalists and they can report on news and information. But we as consumers of journalism need to be thoughtful and discerning and intelligent about what we see, what we believe, and what we share. Because there is truth and there are, facts that can be manipulated and changed. And I think that as technology gets better and better, it's very easy to change those type of content. And so what we need to be careful about is where we get our information from, and making sure that we have more than one source of information so that we can verify what we see. But I think that I've never felt more encouraged or more positive, I think, about the direction and the future of journalism. If more people are available and have access to the ability to tell stories and to tell their stories and the stories of others, I think that is nothing but a good thing. And I think that the chance for people to have that skill set is a great one. I think it is a matter of us making sure that we are clear about what kind of information we are looking at, what's perhaps behind the motivation of some of that information. And, we can look for information that we want to agree with. We can look for information that is biased, or we can look for information and we can accept that or not. But I think as consumers, we have to be discerning and very smart about what's out there.
Of course, 100%. And I think this is a great time for everyone while you're at home to find ways to educate yourself. And like you're saying, finding all sorts of sources to get a 360-degree view is really important.
Yeah. And, I like paying for journalism. I like paying for, I have multiple subscriptions to a variety. And the nice thing about the fact that it's all digital is that, I'm not getting, dozens of magazines, newspapers delivered to my house. It's all on my screens now. But I believe you pay for what you get. Yeah. So if you have, if it's quality, you have to pay for it. And it's never been a better time to invest in good journalism and good storytelling, and you can tell the difference. And it's available at your fingertips, and that's, I think, only going to get better and better. So I would encourage people to really, get some subscriptions, try it out, and see what, voices or, writers, watch different networks and see what you like, who you trust. It's really about trust, and follow those people.
Yeah. And on that note, I think with Gooroo, we always believe in the importance of lifelong learning, whether that be in the classroom, in tutoring, after school, but also in terms of personal growth and finding those resources on your own. We also really stress the importance of mentorship. So what role has educators and mentors played in your life? Is there someone that really sticks out to you?
Yeah, I've been very lucky. I've had mentors at every stage of my life, and they've helped me in different ways. I've had mentors in, middle school and high school, and in college, and I've had mentors at work, and I've
Mm-hmm.
had mentors at in grad school, and I've had mentors for different things. Sometimes you fall into kind of a relationship with a mentor accidentally, and sometimes you do it intentionally. I've actually done it intentionally once or twice, where I went to someone and I said, I need, some guidance. I need someone like you to kind of help me. I'm trying to get somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
get to a place. And I need you to be that kind of voice for me. And I need you to be honest with me and kind of guide me. And then sometimes you kind of just bump into somebody who ends up helping you way more than you thought you could. And you really kind of help them, but someday you'll be that person for someone else. Um, but it's crucial. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't think anyone gets really anywhere without help from someone else. And um, it's just been, uh, it's been, I'm trying to think of the most superlative word I can think of, but it's just, they're,
Yeah.
they're in, their value is incalculable. They
Mm-hmm.
are, um, uh, because they're a sounding board. Often they can open doors that you could never open or walk through yourself. They can also tell you the truth that your family won't tell you or your friends won't tell you, because they will be kind to you, where a mentor will be honest. And as the quote goes, and I think it's from Warren Buffett, honesty is expensive. Don't expect it from cheap people. And it's true. Sometimes you need to know the truth, and a mentor can do that for you, because that's the role they play in your life. And that is very valuable, because not everyone will always be as honest with you. And um, and they can also be great for advice, because most often they have been in the same situation. And if you are lost or struggling, or just having a very hard time and can't make a decision, um, they can be that kind of light in the tunnel that can help you, get out. And I've found that to be the case. And I had mentors in high school who helped guide me through the college admissions process. I had mentors in college, and who were teachers, who were professors of
Mm-hmm.
mine, but who just kind of went the extra mile. I've had mentors at work who pulled me aside when Sheryl Sandberg wrote the book Lean In, and in their own way were saying, if anybody should be leaning in, it should be you. Why aren't you? What's
Wow.
going on with you?
Mm-hmm.
And which I was really grateful for, because no one was saying that to me. And my family wasn't, no offense to them, but they weren't. And but he was really saying, you should be pushing harder, you should be trying harder. um and and that's what I needed to hear. And then I had mentors and both in graduate school, both times, who had gone through those programs, who knew what it was going to be like, who were able to say, this part's going to be hard, this part is going to be better, just get through this part and you'll be fine. And who who were also there at the end when it was successful too, and were there, who came and supported me at graduation. And it was really, really great. And these people are all ages, um, men, women. It's good to have a variety, because men and women solve problems differently.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've just been very grateful, and I hope that I can return the favor to other people someday. Um, and yeah, look for mentors, look for helpers, look for people who have gone down the same path you want to go down, and ask them directly. Don't be shy. definitely ask them to help. I think people in general want to help.
Great. And I guess with all of those mentors in your life and when you're going through different challenges, what makes for a good challenge to you and how do you define success?
So I like this question. I think, I think a good challenge is usually something that isn't an easy win. And because we all have those, sort of at this point, whether you're in middle school or high school, you have subjects that you're good in, and then some where you're a little bit weaker. Every single one of us has strengths and weaknesses. And as you get older, it's a little bit more about your strengths and managing some of your weaknesses than it is about, the things that you actually, aren't that good at. You'll pick a career based on your strengths. But occasionally you'll have to build up a skill set or learn something quickly, or, try and fail at something. And so a good challenge is something that you have to, I think, that requires you to learn something or do something that requires, some skill set, and then has some personal learning or takeaway that you have to, accomplish as well. Basically, if there's a personal lesson along with it, those are kind of the ones that are transformational. They tend to be the hardest. Those are the ones it's good to have a mentor around, because they can be the ones where you're really stuck and you don't know what to do, and all the decisions can seem easily acceptable, or all can seem terrible, and you can't really decide which options you should take. And so I think those types of challenges are the ones that kind of make us. The easy wins are the ones that kind of don't matter. And in the end, you're not really known for all of your successes. You're known for the things that really challenged you and that you overcame, even if it was a little messy, and even if it was harder, and even if it took you a little longer. Those aren't bad. And those are the ones where I think we grow and change the most. And everyone has them. There is not a single person that doesn't. And even if it looks like someone's got an easier road, I promise you that they don't. You're just watching from the outside. But those are the ones I've liked. And, where the road is bumpy, but eventually, of course, you get there. And, you try, and maybe you fail a couple of times, and then you get there.
Yeah. Talking about failure or like being able to fail and overcome that, there's also a lot of talks where people just say, don't be afraid to fail. Where do you think there's been a time in your life where you have failed, but it was a positive experience in the end, or it was worth it even if you didn't really get to that goal that you had thought of?
Yeah. I mean, I think I have learned this lesson probably a little later than I really should have. I wish I could have. I did this in graduate school, but I wish I had done this in college and in high school, because I was so consumed with, especially in high school, I was so consumed with having perfect grades. And that was a real thing, like perfect grades. And I thought that perfect was A, attainable, and that B, it was attainable for me, and that I was going to be judged by all the other perfect people, and that I could avoid mistakes by just picking the things that I was only going to be good at. And what I wish I had done is I wish I had known that in life, you'll usually hit what you aim at if you keep going, and that I would have, likely ended up at the same school, or even if I didn't end up at that school, a very good school, and it all would have been fine. And I would have taken some classes that I would have freed myself up a little to take classes that were that I might have not gotten such good grades in. And especially in college, because that is your time to really experiment and try and, try some really challenging things. And, as an employee and someone who hires people, I'm not particularly worried if someone got a D in physics their sophomore year of college, because by the time they have come to me and, I'm getting their resume, I don't particularly care if that happened. I want to know that they are a human being, that they're going to show up at work and they're going to try every day and they're going to be professional and respectful. And, and if they say to me that they challenged themselves and took some hard classes and some of them worked and some of them didn't, I think that's fine. And I did that in business school because that was going to be my experience. And I did that in journalism school because, it's pass fail, right? So it didn't matter. But I didn't feel that freedom to do that in college. And I wish I had, because I would have, taken, I would have taken all kinds of stuff. But I think that, things are a lot more forgiving now. I know that that's not realistic for everyone, especially if you're going to go into a particular field. And, if you're trying to go into medicine, or if you're trying to go into something that's very competitive, I understand that. But also, you could try one and then, take it pass fail, or talk to the professor and say, look, I just want to sit in on this class. I have the time. Can I just attend and, pay attention and audit? I did audit, some classes, and just to get the experience. But I wish I didn't. I wish I felt a little bit more free to do that. And then, even you can try and fail, and it's kind of a safe way to fail. And then you get used to the feeling, because it's very humbling to get a test back and, be with people who are in that major and you're not in that major, and, you're not as good. And that has happened to me. But it's a little bit safer to feel that way if you're not, the stakes aren't as high. Because there will be times where, you're just in a room where people are really outstanding, and, you're close, but like there. But there will be times where you're in the room and you're in the outstanding group, that's kind of how life works, so but yeah, I think that also prepares you for the way life is too. That kind of gets you ready for what it's going to be like outside of school, because outside of school, life is not a meritocracy. It is definitely not fair. And if you haven't gotten well versed in that, then it can be a little bit more shocking. And so it kind of gets you ready, I think.
We have a lot of young students who are like tuning in for all of our classes, and I think right now they're always having the burdens and stresses of maybe being perfect or getting the perfect grades, perfect SAT scores to get into the perfect college. And that's a lot of stress for someone who's not even 18 yet.
Oh, it's extremely stressful. And I felt that way. And it's very difficult. And I really felt very much like I had to be perfect in high school. And I felt that way. And I felt that way about taking the SATs. I felt that way about all my extracurriculars. I felt that way about my grades. And then it wasn't until I matured a little bit and I realized what was really kind of out there, and I had worked a little while, and I thought I didn't have to feel that way. It would have all been okay. It would have all been okay. and I could have, it could have been a little bit more. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy high school. I did, but it was, it was, it was a lot of pressure. I felt like a lot of pressure. And I'm sure that, and that was a long time ago that I was in high school. And I am sure that there's much more pressure now. I'm sure that there's much more pressure now, but, for the field I'm in, and I think I speak for a lot of people, when I say this and if this gives anyone any comfort, I hope, like I said, you want, when you're looking for someone to hire someone, you want to make sure that they have the skill set and the capability of doing the job. Certainly. I mean, you don't want to put someone into a role where they're not going to be successful. That's not fair to them. But, people are human beings. If they've had a bad semester, if they've had a bad grade, if they've had a tough time, we understand. And, those moments and bad grades are not a permanent record. They're not a permanent mark against you. And they are an opportunity. They are a learning opportunity. And I won't even call them failures, because I don't think they are. I think they are, I think they are a chance to assess, for lots of reasons, that maybe that's not a topic that you liked. Or maybe that was one too many classes, or maybe you were, really sick that semester. There are, lots of reasons why those things happen. And people understand that. And I think a little more understanding of that and some less pressure, I think people would feel a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that's great advice for all of our students listening and watching, because I think on top of all of that stress, there's an uncertainty with everything going on with COVID and just what's coming in the coming months. But I think it's reassuring to hear from you, at least, that things will happen, but it'll get better soon, and things will work out.
Yeah, I think I don't mean to be overly optimistic, but I do think you kind of end up where you're supposed to be. So, you will get there. So not to be too disheartened if the road is a little bit bumpy. I mean, like I said, everyone's road gets bumpy at some point. It really does. So, you should expect your road to be bumpy. That's realistic. And you will encounter challenges and you will encounter success. Those two things are guaranteed. And it's really about your ability to handle both equally, because you want to handle your challenges well without getting too stressed out and too bogged down and too overwhelmed by them. But you also want to handle your success well too. You want to win well. You want to win, know that it's deserved and you did a great job. No one really likes someone who brags, but you should also take a victory lap, and own it and really be proud of yourself, and certainly clap for yourself because you did it. So, balance that out, and then know that, there are going to be challenges again, and then there'll be success, and they'll be, they go hand in hand. And that's what you should expect.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much for answering these questions for us. I know that sort of wraps up the questions that I had for you, but I know that you also have a couple of insights and lessons that you wanted to share about Joseph Campbell. So I'd love to leave it to you just to go over some of that.
Yeah, I thought this might be helpful for this group because, and I didn't learn this until business school, but I thought this would be something that I would have liked to have learned earlier. So Joseph Campbell was a comparative literature professor, and he noticed that many of the stories he was studying had a very similar theme. And they followed a particular trajectory of a hero being called into action or forced into a challenge, and then following a cycle, or basically a circle of challenges, of asking a mentor, kind of like a birth and a death and a rebirth, and then returning back to their previous life, but a changed and better person. And basically, this is kind of the story of how human beings experience the world and experience, challenges. And it's repeated in all of our, cultures. So it's the story of Buddha, it's the story of Jesus Christ, it's the story of Luke Skywalker and Spider-Man, and Jane Austen, her characters do it, and Emily Bronte, and it's used quite a lot. And so if you Google Joseph Campbell, you'll see it's called the hero's myth, and it is, I think, very useful in understanding how humans experience their own narratives and how they experience their own lives. He called it the monomyth. We called it at business school the hero's journey, but you can call it, you can Google any of that, you'll find it. And it's actually, there are diagrams about it. And I was just thinking, I don't know if any of you have read the Aeneid or the Odyssey. Both of them follow the same story arc. But basically it's, how we all understand our own stories and the stories of what it kind of means to be human, and how to contextualize the suffering and the success that we all experience. And so if you find that useful, because I know all of you are having a challenging time right now, whether or not you are preparing for, to change into new classes, or to take some of your exams, or to, just kind of manage through all of the change that's happened the last half of this year, any of this that's happening to you. I think that might be helpful in knowing that this is how kind of every human that's ever walked the earth has understood their life. And it's how we've written about the human experience too. And it's how we look to our heroes to experience human challenges in a successful and productive way, and how we emulate that. So check it out. I hope it's helpful. Let me know. Send me, a text or something, or reach out to me on social media and let me know how it's going. And I thought it was very helpful, and I wish I had known more about it when I was younger, because I felt like, especially when I was in middle school and high school, that I felt very like this seemed, whatever I was experiencing it separately, but every human experiences these types of things. And we tend to experience them in the same types of ways, with the same types of problem-solving abilities. If you tap into those, you can get through them a little faster and a little bit better. And there's a proven way with proven skill sets and tools that you can use. So try it. See what you think.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we'll be sure to include your social handles for anyone who wants to reach out to you, have any questions. But I think that sort of concludes our Master Gooroo live class for today. Thank you again, Carolyn, for joining us today. It was an absolute pleasure.
It was so much fun. Thank you, Sue. And it was really great.
Perfect. And for all of you watching, you can feel free to go back to the Gooroo Live website if you want to enroll in more classes like these, or if you want to hear from Carolyn again, that's also something you can let us know, and maybe we can try to get her back as well. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.